Heavy Cardboard, Episode 30, Rococo. Coming to you from Denver, Colorado. Welcome to Heavy Cardboard, where we talk, decent, mediocre games and whatever else comes to us, other topics in the board gaming hobby. We're your hosts. I'm Edward.
I'm Tony.
So first off, how to get in contact with us. Hit us on our website, Heavy Cardboard, Twitter, @HeavyCardboard, Facebook, Heavy Cardboard, email, contact you guessed it, heavycardboard.com. So we asked for some iTunes reviews last episode, and boy, did you all respond. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S., Canada, U.K., Germany, and Australia all came out to help us out, so we appreciate that. So here we go. Luke Nelson James, Turkey Skin, XBXB, Galaxy Trucker 1, Red Samurai 12,000, Nalmam, Mantheron, Chris Klarman, Agtinio9, Angaro9, SMWaz 17, and Black Lamb 6, and everyone else previously. Thank you, guys. We really, really appreciate it.
Turkey Skin, huh?
Yeah. He actually apologized for his name on iTunes. I think that was pretty funny. But no, seriously, we very, very much appreciate the reviews on iTunes. It helps get our podcast, on the more recommended or whatnot on there. So you guys helping us helps you, helps us, gets us more visible. So we get more things to give away for you guys, et cetera, et cetera. Speaking of which, because you guys did such a great job on the reviews, we're going to have a fun scavenger hunt for you guys next episode. We didn't have time to get everything set up for it this episode. So next episode, we were going to have a fun giveaway for you guys for I think it's a $40 gift certificate over to Game Surplus, our sponsor.
Speaking of Game Surplus, they are the sponsor of Heavy Cardboard. We appreciate them very much. Great folks, great reputation, awesome inventory of games. Check them out, www.gamesurplus.com. Tell them Heavy Cardboard sent you.
So other than playing games, not a lot going on over here in my neck of the woods. I finally got around to getting an Xbox One. I got it. Still haven't hooked it up. Still in the box. So I've been busy. So what's going on with you?
Well, I was pretty pleased with the results of our 18XX episode.
Yeah, I think the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive.
It shot to the top of our most downloaded episode list in very short order. Not the top, but in the top. And I think, based on things I've heard and read, that we've got a few folks interested in trying some 18XX games, and that was the goal.
You're right. We're just trying to encourage people to give it a try, and it seems like the point made it through. Asher's 10th birthday was yesterday.
Right on.
I went and got right. I went and got him a steak, and I made him some Frosty Paws for dessert. It's like doggy ice cream or whatever. And funny little quick story here. I started listening to the History of Rome podcast for the second time. It's about 180, 190 episodes long, and it's, wait for it, the History of Rome. But one of my favorite things about this that I missed the first time I listened to it, the first time they encountered the Greeks, the Romans in battle, they ran into war elephants, and the war elephants wreaked havoc. Well, the second time they ran into them, Mike Duncan, who recites the history, if you will.
Sure.
He says how they came up with a good idea on how to take down war elephants, and it was something as simple as having a rope behind a chariot and them just riding around the elephants and cinching up their legs, and the elephants fall. And total deadpan, total as if it were just totally legit. He's like, not very similar to how the rebels took down the Imperial Walker for the Battle of Hoth. And he said that right in the middle of the description of the battle.
Totally takes everything out of context.
Right, but the way he said it, it almost made you think, wait, was that real? Hold on a second. So yeah, it's my favorite podcast of all time, and having a good time with it.
Well, tell me what games that you have acquired recently, sir.
Well, there's sort of three.
Okay.
The first off is a custom copy of Kansas Pacific that you hooked me up with. So thank you.
You're welcome. I don't like the construction paper components.
You and me both.
So I did the same with 1857.
You kind of pimped them out and kind of made it your own custom copy.
18XX style certificates and stuff like that. Made my own 1830 tiles for it.
Oh, it looks great. So, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but thank you for the Kansas Pacific. The other things that we have acquired are review copies of Argent the Consortium and Forge War. So thanks to Level 99 Games and Cephalofair Games for those. We'll be featuring both of them in upcoming episodes.
Potentially. Likely.
We will.
Unless they don't want us to.
Well, So how about you?
Let's see. I acquired Trambahn, which we'll be talking a little bit about in today's episode. 1873 Harzbahn and Helios. Thank you, Game Surplus, for that.
You know, on that note, I guess I forgot one. DR Congo finally actually made it here.
Speaking of Game Surplus.
Right. So thanks to Velma for that one.
Let's see. Hunting?
Yeah. Kind of. Not really actively, aggressively hunting. Just, hey, if it happens to work out. Just finished a math trade and traded away one game for Masters of Venice. So that'll be coming here soon.
That's one I want us to cover.
But same here. The other things that I had on my list in the math trade were the Tesla v Edison, Ashes, Rise of the Phoenixborn, which I finally got to play, which we'll talk about that in a minute, and Asgard, which is that really super cheap game from What's Your Game, kind of worker placement, kind of a weird take on it, and I'm curious to try it. So
cool.
But that's it for me. How about you?
The only thing is I got on the 1880 reprint list, and it was kind of weird the way I did this.
I'm all ears because you did it for 2 copies, I'm sure, so I'm not worried. Go ahead.
Well, inadvertently, perhaps. I emailed Helmut.
Okay. And who is the designer?
One of the two.
Oh, right. O&O.
And I hadn't heard anything, so I emailed Lonnie. Lonnie responded immediately back and said, "Bing, you're on the list." Today, which was 2 weeks later, Helmut responded back, "Oh, I'm sorry it took so long. You're on the list."
Well,
so I might be on it twice. I don't know. But here's the interesting part. Lonnie says they'll be ready to ship in about 4 weeks, and Helmut says in a few weeks by the end of the year at latest. So who knows?
All right. Very cool. So yeah, definitely make sure that you get me one as well, please, sir.
Sounds good. I will send another email that says, "Can you leave me on twice, please?"
Yes, right.
Let's see. Let's talk about the games we've been playing.
Well, start with the most recent one that, even though we didn't play it together, we sort of did. 18OE. We played a medium scenario of it. We had 2 4-player games.
Dueling.
We had 2 new players. So let's see. It was you, me, Amanda, PC.
Tony. The other Tony.
KR. We had Matt.
We had Matt.
And Ken and Robert.
That's right.
And we each had one of the new players on each of the games, and it was awesome. Ended up running long, but that was to be expected with new players. And let's face it, we had 7 brand new people to 18OE, and the 8th, being me, hadn't played it in 2 years. So it took us about an hour and a half to get through the rules because we kind of overdid it a bit with Matt having never played an 18XX. And then began, and it took us 12 hours including the rules, but I don't think there's a single person there that felt like it took more than 6. It flew by. The entire day everybody was totally engrossed, having a blast, and we have 2 new converts for 18XX, which is a win.
We do. What did you think of the game?
Oh, I think it's great. I really, really enjoyed it. Amanda was a big fan. She really enjoyed it as well, and she's itching to try it 2-player, which it's supposed to be a fantastic 2-player game.
Okay.
So yeah, that's total win. Cool. It's obviously more on the 1829 side of things as far as track laying, and there's very little shenanigans, so to speak, on the stock market side.
Right.
Just totally thoroughly enjoyed the game. Money was pretty plentiful.
Yeah, I found it to be an incredibly generous and forgiving game. and I didn't really. I thought about it a lot on the following day, Sunday, and it didn't like grab me like some of the other games we've played. Like, oh, let's play that again next Saturday.
Okay.
But it was terrific. It was fantastic. I was expecting it to be harder, maybe, or something. I don't know.
It became more intuitive as we went.
Yeah, so I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it.
Okay. All right, that's fair. Yeah. All right. So getting back to this, what else? We played Trambahn.
Yes.
Played For Sale.
Yes.
Played the Staufer Dynasty, which we're going to get into. The Grizzled, we played twice, and we lost twice.
I think that it's the World 0 and the Grizzled 42 billion by now.
Right. It's a hard game, but to be honest with you, I don't want to go into too much because I really want to do a trailer on it, I think, next episode. And last but not least was Ashes, Rise of the Phoenixborn. In one of our game days, Matt brought it, and we played it 4 players, which none of us really enjoyed the 4-player game, but we saw that the 2-player game was going to be really cool. It really gives that kind of Magic the Gathering feel with the dice instead of mana, and it scratched all those itches I used to get when I used to play Magic, but didn't bring up all that, it's Magic again. So it was fresh, it was fun, and once it's released into the wild on a broader scale, Amanda wants us to pick up a copy so she and I can play it together. So cool. So how about you?
Well, there were 2 games that we also played together that you forgot about.
Sure.
SNCF, The Moon.
Oh,
and Key Market.
That's right.
The Moon was a pretty cool SNCF map.
It was. It's Paul Chad, because he wasn't here last weekend.
Right.
He mentioned to us that a lot of people, that's their favorite map with the wraparound.
Yeah, and the sun, the way the sun moves. It's,
right. You can only build on half the map on a given turn and whatnot. Really, yeah, it was really unique. And for a 10-minute, 15-minute game, that's my kind of filler.
Totally. Let's see. I've played Rococo, The Climbers, Flower Power, Arboretum, Helios, and Nuremberg, in addition to the ones already mentioned.
So, without going into much on Key Market, I thought it was fantastic.
It's pretty cool.
Not $200 fantastic.
Absolutely not.
But reviewable.
But that is the going price.
But reviewable. Real quick, Helios, tell me about that a little bit.
Helios is a game on a pile of games.
Okay.
It's nothing really special or fantastic. It was fun. It's a gorgeous game. The spatial thing about building out your little world and moving the sun around it was really pretty cool, but other than that, it was whatever.
Okay.
We'll be in the auction.
Never played it.
You should try it. I mean, just to say you did it once, and you'll be good with that.
All right. Tell us about this train-themed game, Trambahn.
Trambahn is, in fact, a train-themed game from Helmut Oli, half of the O&O team that did Russian Railroads, 1880 China, and a host of other 18XX games. It's a 2-player game that plays in about 30 minutes. And the theme of this game is that you're running a trolley routes in Munich. Right.
I'm going to notice a theme of a lack of theme on our trailers tonight.
There are train artworks on the cards. But other than that, that's what's driving the game. So there are 4 different trolley lines in the game, and each one has a station card placed in the center of the board. When 4 passenger cards are played on a given line, that line will score for both players. And when these stations score a total of 10 times throughout the game will end. On your turn, you got a hand of 6 cards. And you have a sequence of actions that you'll execute. First, you'll have to play 1 or 2 cards as passengers on those aforementioned 4 station cards. So that's how they get up to 4. So you have to decide on which line you want to inch closer to scoring. Play any number, secondly, of your remaining cards on the routes for each line that you have personally. This is the critical point in play, and it is optional. You don't have to add cards to your routes. But what you're doing is making columns of cards in each of the 4 lines, and you can have multiple columns in each of the lines. So line 2, the red one, let's say, I can have 2 routes in that. It doesn't matter, 2 columns. All of the cards in the deck are numbered 1 through 10. There are 2 2s, 2 10s, and 3 of the rest of the numbers. The 10s are worth 3 victory points, 7 through 9 are worth 2 victory points, and the rest of the cards are worth 1 victory point. When you lay the cards in your columns, they have to be played in the same or ascending value, and that's why there's multiples of each digit.
So it can go like 2, 2, 3, 7, 7, 9,
Right.
for instance, right?
But once you laid that 7, you can't go back and do 6s and 5s, right? When you get 8 cards in a column, that column immediately scores. Now, this is a bonus scoring. This isn't one of the 10 scorings that is the clock to the game. So what this all does is create a decision point, really, about when you play cards, when do you hold them, and when do you wait for more cards in the value range you're looking for, because you're tempted to get those 2 and 3 victory point cards down, especially as something is inching closer to being scored. Third, on your turn, you're going to play any remaining cards as money into your money deck. Player 1 begins the game with 12 face-down cards. Those are money. And player 2 with 15. Those are money. They're at the back
Kind
of
of
the
the
cards.
balance, right?
Yeah. And the back of the cards represent 1,000 marks. Fourth, on your turn, you can buy any, none, or all of the 3 trains that are available for purchase. Trains are really a scoring multiplier in the game. 1 is placed at the head of every value, or of every column of the routes that you're building, and they multiply the victory points. So if I have cards worth 8 victory points and I have a 3 train, I just scored 24 points when that route scores.
I gotta say, my biggest disappointment with this game, the trains don't rust.
The trains don't rust.
Right.
I know, because that'd be really handy, actually. And the trains, they have a little price run on them, too. 5,000, 10,000, and 15,000. So you do have to plan to get that. Last thing you can do in your turn is refill up to 6 cards. So 10 scorings, you win, or the game ends, and blah, blah, blah. So here's what's cool about the game. The cards in your hand are used for playing, and they're used for money. They're multi-purpose. So I can put them here, I can put them there, I can put them in the bank.
And so you got that big decision point to, do I accelerate towards a scoring, by putting them out in the common area, or do you help yourself and yourself only by doing the columns, or do you desperately need that money to be able to buy another train so that you can get another scoring run?
There's a hint of technology in those trains, a 2, a 3, and a 4 multiplier. I kind of like that,
I do wish, though, that the 4s rusted the 2s.
That would be the bomb.
I think that would be cool.
Here's something I thought was really cool. The routes, which are, the cards, are numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4, as well as being color-coded yellow, red, blue, and green. So, like, the red one is route line 2.
Oh, so colorblind
Right.
friendly.
When
Right.
I was playing with Paul Chad this weekend, he was holding his cards, and he goes, I think this is red. And I said, hey, look at the route number. And he's like, oh, that's cool.
Right, because he's red-green.
Ah.
He's red-green colorblind. And so a lot of times in those games, those two colors look identical. So, yeah, that's really cool that they thought to do that.
Trains don't rust, but there is a bit of a rush in the game because, like, I can keep playing certain color cards out into the center 4 areas and rush scoring in a route in a line that I'm ahead of you on and try to end the game quicker and capitalize by scoring more points than you.
And I saw that in our game on Friday that you were trying to get the last 2 train, and on my turn I was able to come in and snake it to where now all the prices of the trains went from 5,000 to 10,000. Now you can't afford to buy that extra train.
Tell you one thing I don't think is cool about the game. It only plays 2. I don't see how you could do it better, but it's cool.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a reason. I hear what you're saying. I'm trying to think in my head whether or not
3 would be fun.
I could see that. But at the same time, I feel like if you add that third player, it may make the game longer than it should be. Because I felt like the game was perfect play length for what it was.
Absolutely.
The one gripe, quote unquote, that I would have about the game is pretty much the epitome of pasted on theme, right?
Yeah.
So
That's okay.
yeah,
We don't care about theme.
I'm just saying it could be enhanced had it not been pasted on. But yeah.
The game is getting lots of comparisons to Lost Cities, and there certainly are similarities.
Never played it, couldn't tell you.
If you like that game, and I do, then you'll probably like this one too. But I like this one better than Lost Cities, however.
Or if maybe you're just a trolley fan.
That's right. It is a typical card game, hand management, luck of the draw. Good card players will always tell you there's ways to manage your luck better than poor card game players. That's all about what you keep and when you play it. And I'm enjoying it so far for what it is. It's one of my current favorite 2-player filler games. And I've played it, I don't know, 4 or 5 times already just in the few days I've had it. I'm going to give it a rating of a 4.
Okay. I was just going to ask you real quick, since you were saying that it's one of your favorite 2-player filler games. Similar, like weight and thinkiness is Arboretum. How would you put one above the other on those two?
I would put
based
Arboretum
strictly on the 2-player aspect. I'm saying.
Well, in 2-player, I'd play either.
Okay,
but I'd put Arboretum ahead just because it plays 3 and 4.
Okay, cool.
That's Trambahn. Edward, let everybody know about the Staufer Dynasty, please.
All right. Published in 2014, designed by Andreas Stedding, published by Z-Man Games. The Staufer Dynasty plays 2 to 5 players, plays in about 90 minutes or so, give or take. Mm-hmm. In the Staufer Dynasty, the players represent nobles accompanying Henry VI on his tour of the kingdom in the 12th century. I guess. I mean, this is the epitome of pasted on theme. So we're just going to talk about what actually happens in the game.
The theme tonight of our episode is pasted on theme.
Right. The game takes place over 5 rounds where each player gets 3 actions per round. The order of those actions are dependent on what actions the players took the previous round. The board is modular, pie-shaped circle where each wedge of the pie is a different region with varying number of quote-unquote office seats for your nobles and envoys to occupy. The king starts in one region and will travel 1 to 3 spaces around the board each round based on the modular turn track. During each of the players' 3 actions, the players have a choice of one of 2 actions. They may take a supply action where players can get additional envoys and nobles, i.e. meeples, to use when they take the other action, which is move and deploy. In addition, they also get one of the available treasure chests that gives players various one-time rule breakers or victory points or endgame scoring points. On the other action, move and deploy, players spend their envoys and nobles, i.e. meeples, to move to the different regions around the board, and then they spend more envoys and nobles to then claim one of the available seats in that region. By doing so, players also get one or more of those face-up treasure chests. After all players have taken their 3 actions, 1 or 2 of the regions are scored using an area majority mechanic. Then the king advances 1 to 3 regions. Players get some of their envoys and nobles back, then go on to the next round. Do that 5 times with differing regions scoring and the king advancing various numbers of regions. Then the players score their 3 hidden goals, and whomever has the most VP wins. So that's kind of a brief overview of Staufer Dynasty.
Indeed.
So what's cool? Start with you, Tony.
Let's see. The modularity of the game.
That's far and away my number one. Number one.
I figured that'd be a good place to start.
Right.
The board is in these like little pie wedges, right?
Yep.
You put them together. Different configurations.
Yep. And not only that, you have the region scoring, which is modular, the turn tracks that convey the main region scored, the secondary conditions for the second region to score, the king's movement. All are great ways to vary the setup and adds variability.
The bonus cards are also very modular as well because they're numbered in little sets. So there's like 3 cards of number 1 that do something, 3 cards of number 2 that do something, etc., all the way up to like, what, 16?
Yeah, and you only use a portion of them each game. So the key to this game, the key word is modular.
Modular.
So, good chunky bits, thick cardboard components,
Yeah.
Linen finish on the cards, just good quality components.
Beautiful European production quality. Good iconography, too.
Very. However, I am not a fan of the Old English lettering on the names of the regions. At a glance, can be a little hard to read, just at a glance.
It's Gothic.
Oh, a Gothic font. Okay, sure.
So the planning in this game. Talk a little bit about the planning. I feel like, planning, the forethought and thinking ahead to accomplish the goals of the game. I feel like this is like a puzzle game.
Okay.
Where like the game in its modular way is going to say, hey, here's where the king is, here's where the king's going, here's what those areas are worth, right? You know what the currency is, you know the bonus cards in the game. Now, go score the most points you can within that puzzle in 5 turns.
No, I think you nailed it. That's exactly it.
What are the wild cards? Treasure chests, I think, right?
Well, yeah, the treasure chests, which are there's I want to say 4 different kinds. You know, there's the rule breakers, there's immediate scoring VPs,
the ones you collect to get bigger VPs,
and there's the ones that you get a set of 2 if you collect, and you get those bonus cards that are
the purple
permanent rule breakers for you and you only. The way the turn order changes each round, the better actions that you take, i.e. the move and deploy action, cause you to act later in the following round. I like that, how it's not a static turn order. I think that's a really cool concept, to where if you take the lesser action, which is the supply action, which just gets you more meeples and gets you 1 treasure chest, possibly more.
Or maybe even none.
Right. You know that, okay, even though I'm kind of wasting an action by only using that to get more dudes, I know I'm going to act earlier in the turn to be able to get some of those higher point office seats earlier for the next round. So kind of that forethought of planning, to piggyback on what you were saying.
So what about things that we maybe don't like so much about the game?
Well, I personally am not a huge fan of the artwork. It's a little too Euro-y, for lack of a better way to put it.
Fair enough.
It's just it's very. Yeah, I don't know the wording on this. Hard to describe. It's just very.
Is there a crusty looking old white dude on the cover?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's kind of that. Well, for a guy who really digs those type games, Kalis and such.
Yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan of the bright colors, and hey, I like Arkwright, muted colors and stuff like that.
I understand what you're saying.
So the other thing, and I only really have one other negative, but it's kind of the big negative for this, for me, is the game's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a fine game. There's nothing unobtrusive. But at the same time, there's nothing really terribly special about it, other than the modular nature of the game.
To me, I see nothing new or innovative or innovative, as our English friends would say. It's just a rehash of mechanics like resource acquisition, resource spending, movement allowance, predetermined scoring locations with predetermined values, a variable turn order that kind of works. I really am not a fan of the turn order mechanic here. It's kind of a good idea that didn't really work out, I don't think.
Well, hold on.
Predetermined but variable game conditions, a fixed game length, bonus rule-breaking cards and tiles, and boredom. I don't feel like I'm doing anything meaningful in this game. I'm just moving a transient worker currency from place to place to get a fleeting area majority in the current scoring zone, and wake me up when it's my turn, and I'll take a look at the board and make my move in 20 seconds. To me, like Andreas Stetting, I've played 5 of his games now, and they're all okay at best and meh at worst. Nothing is amazing, and nothing is a complete waste of my time. I'll rarely call for a Stetting game to be played. Family game night accepted. Of the 5 Stetting games I've played, here's my reverse ranking. Number 5, Staufer Dynasty. Number 4, Hansa Teutonica. 3, Nuremberg. 2, Firenze. 1, Koga. I'm going to go all the way out on a limb here and give Staufer Dynasty a 3 rating. Blech.
Yeah, I'll agree with your rating, and kind of your summary of it, to be honest. I've only played 2 of those 5, Hansa Teutonica and Staufer Dynasty, and to me, Hansa Teutonica is a much more interesting game.
Oh, yeah.
That said, I do wonder if more games would profit from being as modular as this game is. That is, I feel like its calling card is how modular. Just there are so many modular things about it, and it doesn't necessarily add to the replayability, but it adds to the variability of the game.
Sure. And the monotony's still there, but
I think you're being a little harsh, but yeah, I would give it a 3 on our 1 to 6 scale, so that we don't have any middle ground. So below average, but it does have some interesting things about it. But yeah, overall, it's fine, and that's the Staufer Dynasty. All right, it's time for our featured presentation. Let's go make some dresses.
Rococo, published in 2013. The designers are Matthias Kramer, Louis Maltz, and Stefan Maltz. The artist, the incomparable Michael Menzel. The publisher is Eagle Griffin Games, at least of the version we've been playing. Player count is 2 to 5. The length of time for the game is 1 to 2 hours, depending on the player count, of course. And the availability and cost of the game is it's in print and available, and it retails for $59.99.
Hold on. Let that sink in. Let the listeners just bask in that or cringe that yes, it's in print.
I'm not the most cultured person. And
you?
Yeah. I mean, Ozzy Osbourne's the height of musical culture for me. So, before we talk about what's going on in the game, I was like, all right, what the hell is Rococo? So I had to look it up a little bit and do a little
the definition of Rococo? Okay.
Rococo was an ornate, playful, and witty artistic movement in the late 18th century as a reaction against the grandeur, symmetry, and strict regulations of the Baroque. Soon after its fall from grace, the style received harsh criticism and was seen by some to be superficial and of poor taste. However, Rococo is now widely recognized as a major period of development in European art. It had a lot of asymmetry to it.
Okay.
I saw some nice pieces that were like a mirror with this really fancy frame that was almost all the same, but then there were some slight differences. And other things used garish styles and colors.
Huh. Yeah. Not sure if I wonder, does the artwork really fit with that then? Because I don't.
Well, they are bright red and bright green dresses in the game, right?
But they're not garish. I wouldn't say garish. Yeah, right. You know what I mean? So continue, please, sir.
So, welcome to the Rococo era during the reign of Louis XV, when it's safe to say that holding lavish balls is quite trendy. Important personalities wrap up in noble coats and dresses, anxious to outshine one another. The biggest event is coming up in just a few weeks, and everyone is turning to you with their request. An elegant coat here, a stunning dress there, or a donation to fund the fireworks at the event. Soon you realize that it's not just about your dressmaking business anymore. It's about managing the most prestigious ball of the era. So a touch of deck building accentuates this area control and resource conversion game. The board represents 5 different ballrooms that each contain a fixed number of spaces. The spaces are filled by people wearing dresses made during the play of the game. This is the area control aspect of which I spoke. Scoring of each ballroom at the end of the game is based on having the most and the second most dresses in each of those ballrooms, and the ballrooms are worth different amounts of points. Beginning with a deck of 5 cards, each player selects 3 cards to play in each of the game's 7 rounds. Here is the deck management, deck building aspect. Each card in your deck must be used before you can shuffle and reuse cards. And the cards represent an employee that is of the skill level of apprentice, journeyman, or master. During your turn, you can choose one of the cards from your hand of 3 and select one of 6 actions for that employee to undertake. Now, not all levels of employee can do all of the actions. One of the actions, for example, is claim the queen's favor. This makes you the first player in the next round and earns you $5. The apprentice can't do that.
Need not apply.
Need not apply. The queen has no time for that pauper. You can acquire resources by buying fabrics, lace, and thread from the marketplace. Any worker can do that. Making a dress. You spend those fabrics, laces, and threads to make a dress, and an apprentice cannot make a dress. It requires a journeyman or a master, and some dresses can only be made by a master. Of course, those are worth more points.
Made with just the finest craftsmanship.
Finest. And that's represented when you go to place that dress on the board, because dresses can be worn by the ball goers. You place the dresses in one of the different ballrooms, and some of the places that you place them in can only be placed if the dress was made by a master. Of course, dresses can also be sold for cash and discarded from the game.
Straight cheddar.
Let's see, you can hire a new employee, but only masters can do this action. There is a marketplace for 4 new employees each round. Every new employee that you hire goes directly into your hand, giving you more than the 3 actions you started with this round. As the game rolls on, the employees that are available are cooler and cooler, and some provide an endgame bonus for certain accomplishments during the game. Another action you can take is depute your employee, or as I like to call it, you're fired.
You were found to be the weakest link. Goodbye.
When you do this, the cards are removed from the game, thinning your deck, and giving you some immediate cash. The last thing you can do with one of your employees is fund a decoration. The board has these decoration locations on them that act as various things like point multipliers, tiebreakers, and similar bonuses. And they cost money to fund them, and often a significant amount. So for the next round, you pick 3 cards from those you have not already played. If you don't have 3 to choose from, then you will have to use the 1 or 2 you're left with, but then you can fill out your hand from the rest of your deck and recycle and start over.
Of your choice. It's not just shuffle and take the top.
That's right. It's not shuffle and deal. That's a great point. At the end of the game, we're going to score the area majorities. We're going to score the dresses, employee bonuses, and we're going to add in whatever victory points you might have earned during the game, which is usually not a lot. Although the other night, I went like a money route, and at the end of the game, I already had like 42 victory points.
Which is unheard of, because normally it's a pittance compared to final game scoring or end game scoring.
Most points, you're the winner. All right, let's go right into the review of the game. Let's talk about scalability. Which player counts have we experienced, sir? Go.
Well, I've played it, I think, 8 times, and I've played it across the entire range, 2, 3, 4, and 5 players. How about you?
Yeah, I have no idea how many times I've played it. I wrote in my notes maybe 10, but like saying all player counts.
You don't track your plays.
Although I have been tracking plays recently just to keep track of what I played for the podcast.
For the podcast, right, okay.
I don't care. I don't write down who played, who
No,
won,
I don't do any of that either. But anyway.
Scalability.
Personally, I think it scales great. However, the board is double-sided, and it's 2 and 3 players on one side, 4 and 5 on the back side, or vice versa. For me, in my enjoyment, I prefer it at 3 and 5, I've noticed. I do enjoy it at 2 and 4, but I prefer it at 3 and 5. The reason being...
Yeah, I'd like to know.
There's more competition for spots. It's tighter. It's a tighter game with the board appropriate size
and the max player for that side.
There you go.
I got you. I prefer it at 3.
Specifically
at 3. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
More to come on that.
Okay.
More to come on that. I have a place where I'm going to talk about that.
Okay.
So regarding the cardboard, my friend, components and graphic design.
I got to be honest. I'm pretty happy with the components. Thick cardboard, double-sided board, as we just talked about. The cards are nice, although I'll be honest, I don't know. I can't remember if they're linen finished or not because I've sleeved mine, so I'm not sure.
They're not.
Okay.
Menzel's a genius.
Oh, yeah, that goes without saying.
If the game's going to be about making fancy party dresses for lavish French balls, then the artwork has to be of a certain quality, and I think he nailed it. And I think the iconography overall is excellent, but like every time we play, because we don't play it all that much, right? It'll come out every 1-2 months at my house, and there's always some of those cards when I have to look up the iconography on some of the employees later that come out later in the game. I'm like, all right, what does that one mean again? But 90% of them are great.
Yeah, I agree, and I hadn't thought about that as far as a couple of the iconography not issues, but
yeah, they're not that. It's just that we don't see them enough, right? And it's length of time between seeing them.
Right. Outside of that, though,
yeah,
it really, really well done.
What about the rule book?
I think it's excellent. Yeah. Not just good, but excellent.
Yeah.
It's great for both learning the game for the first time as well as for referencing things throughout the game. Here's another way to think of it. The game's been out almost 2 years, and it only has 2 pages of rules questions on BGG.
That's a good sign.
I think that's an excellent sign of an excellent rule book.
So let me play a fill-in-the-blanks game with you.
Okay.
What makes this game blank?
Medium.
Yes, sir, I agree.
Okay.
Complexity.
That was a short game.
Yeah. Well, you won. You got the answer right.
Okay. Woo!
Complexity in the game. Rules complexity, mechanical complexity. I don't really feel there's any complexity here. There's no nitpicky rules to manage or anything like that. Mechanics are straightforward.
I agree with that with one small caveat, and that's understanding the deck building and the physical, the actual mechanic of drawing your cards between rounds. It's not like other deck builders.
Okay.
Usually, whenever you acquire a new card, it goes into your discard. You
Right.
can't get it, da-da-da-da. Whereas whenever you acquire a new card in this, it goes straight into your hand. And then instead of shuffling up your cards, you get whatever's left over. And then you can choose from the rest of it. So it's a little...
It's different.
It takes a little bit, a couple of rounds on that aspect to wrap your head around. But once people get it, then the rest of the game, if they have any experience whatsoever with hobby games, they're going to be perfectly fine.
So talk about the planning then for a minute there.
Well, I do think there's some tactical and some strategic planning that goes on in the game. Very tactical. It's going to be based on what patterns are drawn and what cloth tiles are available each round.
Right. What dresses are out there? Yeah.
Right. The patterns, I'm calling them.
Oh, sorry,
because there are
patterns on that side, and then there are dresses or suits when you make them. Yes.
Right. And there is, I should say, some forward-looking planning that's needed whenever you select what employees you're going to have available each round. So obviously, this goes back to what I was just talking about with the deck management part or the deck building part. Whatever cards you have to draw from that aren't in your discard are currently available, you're going to have to choose them.
Yeah.
But also then you can go through whatever else is left and select what card you want. And so you kind of have to have a plan in mind for how you want the next round to develop.
Right. Like what dresses or patterns, because they're not dresses yet, am I going to target? What fabrics, lace, and thread do I have versus what I'm going to need for those things?
And what
am I going to sell the dress or put it in a ballroom?
And what a master, an apprentice,
right.
or a journeyman? What
skill level do I need?
Exactly.
Versus, maybe I only have one master left, and there's a bitchin' dress down there, but I also kind of need to hire another guy with that. So there are some choices to have to make to plan on, and it depends on what new workers are available too.
Yep. So lots of choices, and both sides of the planning.
So luck and random factors, I don't know if there's any luck, but there's a lot of things that are random, what's available in the market and the patterns, like you mentioned.
Right, as well as the order of the employee cards. But dare I say, it's totally within reason when you factor in the length of the game and the weight of the game. It feels random appropriate.
Well, and I totally agree. It is appropriate, and like what you said about the employee cards, here's an example, I think. The employee cards, which ones come out are random. Sorta. There are turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, and turn 4 and turn 5 cards, for example. But you don't know which 4 are coming out in that so it's not random in the whole deck. So you kind of know who's coming out when, so yeah. Let's see, game length, is that an issue for you?
Oh, it's not an issue, and I don't think it adds to the weight of the game, but it fits perfectly in with where it should run as far as game length. It contributes to the game being medium, I think.
Yeah. I agree with that. It's not game length's not an issue for those that like heavy and medium games.
No, a 2-hour game is exactly what this should be.
Absolutely. So you were kind of talking a little bit about how long it might take someone to get it from the aspect of the differences of this deck building aspect, but what about like the game in general?
Yeah, I think a couple rounds at most. The final scoring is pretty straightforward, so as long as it was explained well at the beginning of the game, players should get the game fairly quickly, with the one caveat being, like I said, that the deck drawing aspect at the beginning of each turn. Other than that, yeah, I think it's a couple rounds, less than a game.
Just a few turns is what I wrote down too. You have to take in what the cards are going to do. How do you get more cards? How do you manage that hand and do things in the midst of players buying up the dresses you had your eye on, etc. So, let us discuss some of the more enjoyable and pleasant aspects of this game.
First off, it's a pretty off-the-beaten-path theme.
Yeah.
Only other game I can think of that touches the Taylor-type theme really is Pret-a-Porter. So, seriously, legitimately, props to the designers for taking a chance on this theme, because the theme could potentially have been a turnoff to a lot of gamers in a male-dominated hobby. So, yeah, props. I think it's well integrated in the game as well.
Earlier in this episode, we've talked about pasted on theme here, pasted on theme there. This theme is sewn on.
Dad joke. All right,
Yeah.
go ahead.
All right. So the workers on the cards having the 3 different levels and the different abilities of the apprentice, journeyman, and master. I think that's a really, really nice touch.
Yeah, I love not only that, but it's kind of a different take on deck building.
Yes.
There's ways to thin your deck, just like most deck builders. It's just that whole draw mechanic. I appreciate that they're trying something new and different.
That's right.
And it works well, I think.
I can have a little more control over what comes into my hand, but I have to use every card. So I like that too. Let's see. I've scored a whole bunch of points making dresses. I've scored a whole bunch of points making not so many dresses. I've won. I've got my butt kicked. I mean, there's a lot of ways through the game, I think.
Yeah, I think there's lots of paths to victory. And I enjoy doing the different paths, if that makes sense. Like, there isn't one that, yeah, I can do this, but whatever. I genuinely enjoy all the paths that I've been able to, explore thus far. Mm-hmm. So I know you mentioned it earlier when we were talking about components and going through the artist and everything, but seriously, Michael Menzel, that dude, the dude is a master. If he were in this game, he would be a master craftsman.
Oh.
Beautiful, beautiful artwork. Really well done.
Yeah. Gorgeous.
It's Michael Menzel, enough said. I kind of hit on this a little bit earlier, but I want to re-emphasize that it's really tight in an Agricola kind of way when you're playing on a higher play count on each side of the board, yet it's still good on the less tight player counts. So in other words, it's tighter at 3 and 5, a little bit looser at 2 and 4, but still enjoyable.
Okay.
As a guy who prefers that tighter, more tense, more, I guess, stressful gameplay, that the worker placement aspect, I enjoy that more. So I get a bit of an Agricola feel to it. You're not so much stealing... well, I guess you are kind of worker placement because there's less places that you can go in the various ballrooms as well. All right, let me try.
I feel area control there.
Well, maybe. There's deck building, there's resource management, there's worker placement, and there's area control.
I don't see the worker placement. You are using your employees.
No, when you take your dresses, when you've turned your resources. Mm-hmm. And you've bought a pattern, and you turned it into a dress, and you choose not to sell it.
Right.
You choose to put it out on the board.
Right.
It's an area majority game.
Right.
Yeah, I guess maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'll take that back. I would say not area control, area majority though, because second place is still going to
first
score.
And second place.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. No, I stand corrected. You're right.
I am glad that there are simple markets in the game for both the fabrics and the employees. They're kind of reverse intuitive, though, because the more scarce things become, the cheaper they get.
Oh, as opposed to the more cheap it is, or the fewer it is, the
I realize it's a game mechanic, and it works in this game. What it really means is if you want something bad, you better get to it first. You're going to pay more, but you did get it.
Well, see, and I had kind of a different take on that, and I have it here on my notes, that it's a really good balance to turn order. So if you're
you're game mechanic.
Okay, if you're going first, you have unlimited. Well, not you have everything available to you that's on the board.
The world,
but it's more expensive.
Correct.
So if you're later in turn order, there's less to choose from. But you know what? It's a whole lot cheaper, maybe even free.
Maybe even free. And that makes you decide just how greedy you're going to be if you're high in the turn order.
Right.
I can wait on that. Let's do this. Sorry.
I feel like you're always engaged, and the play length really, really feels appropriate. It's just, there's quick turns. There's very little downtime in the game. As with all games worth their salt, you want to do more than you can, which is always a good sign, in my opinion. And... one last thing, and it's not really a positive, I guess, on the game yet. But I'm really looking forward to the expansion that's coming out in Essen this year, which is adding jewelry, additional employees, and a way for apprentices to graduate to master craftsmen, which I think adds a really interesting, aspect to the game, and should be a really wonderful addition to the game.
Interesting. I don't know about the jewelry. Let's see how that plays out. But the employees and the promotion.
The employees, cool. I think, are the most important thing for the simple fact that you're this way you're not seeing all the same cards. It gives that replayability and variability that we very much enjoy. And I'm intrigued by the graduation part from apprentice to master. I think that's going to be cool to check out.
I like that my wife is good at this game. And I guess that's appropriate because of the two of us. She certainly has more experience at holding lavish balls than I do. Sorry, hon. Hey, Edward. Is there anything about the game that rubs you the wrong way or disliked or anything?
I'll be honest. I'm having to reach a bit for any dislikes on this game. But I have 3 points.
Okay.
Let's say.
I have 1, so go for it.
All right. First off, the theme might be weird to off-putting to some people, and to them, I say, get over yourself. Yeah. This is a damn fine game.
I would say they're probably weird or off-putting themselves.
Right. So there's that. Second, final round AP, when players are trying to min-max a little.
I need 2 more points.
Right, and hey, would this will get me 1 more point if I take this employee? No, maybe I should. So maybe it could bog down a little bit on the end, but I don't think it's anything excessive.
Sure.
And last but not least is there's only 1 bag that comes in the game, like a cloth bag. To mix the patterns in, and not 1 for the cloth tiles as well.
I had to throw another bag in.
Right, so I think that's kind of, wait, what? Come on, guys. So other than that, that's sadly all I got. And I say sadly because we like to, give the pluses and minuses, but there's just not a lot here.
Sure. The thing that I wrote down is not one that I don't necessarily dislike, but when you are 5th in a 5-player game,
you're
gonna maybe have some slim pickings, and you're gonna have to be good at making lemonade. And
but I like that.
Some people can get bummed out about that, and they call it chaos and stuff, and I call it chaos, right, in a game too, or it's like lack of control or things
from
like
the players. You're saying,
from the players,
right?
Right. So. Yeah, it doesn't bug me. It does factor into my scalability though, and so
okay. I think that's a fair point, but I don't see it as a beef for myself.
No, and that's why I kind of said some players.
Okay,
some people could get bummed by that.
Fair.
All right, so let's just roll right into our summaries, my friend. Oh, I'm first.
You give your summary first. I'll give my rating first.
7.61 is a solid BGG rating. And it's got over 2,400 ratings, so I feel that's a good metric.
I think that's a great rating.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think, a fair measurement of the game's acceptance with the masses. The gameplay itself, I think, scales best with 3, because I think it is a good level of competition. It is the high player count on that side of the board as well, like you mentioned. I thought that was spot on, sir. And it's a good level of it's not too long before your next turn, and the game state's going to change a little less drastically than with 4 or 5 players. And that, because I feel like that adds, the less drastic the board changes, that adds more weight to the decisions you're able to make. 2 is just not competitive enough of a game. And sometimes I think 5 goes a little too long, especially as 5 people are min-maxing that last turn, like you mentioned. This game does afford me a great, fun evening with friends and family that are more casual gamers. And it's fun for the gamers, too. I enjoy the game. My wife enjoys the game. For some reason, I really like it more than the sum of the parts, what they really should add up to be. And with so many games to analyze as part of Heavy Cardboard, I've decided I'm not going to investigate this. I'm just going to allow it to remain a mystery. If we, after all, have all the answers to the mysteries, we lose a little something. And I don't want to do that, because as people and as hobbyists, we need mystery. That the allure of mystery is a very important thing. And definitely this game has a bit of allure for me.
I quit. I'm tired of these big, eloquent monologue summary crap with my 1 or 2 sentence thing.
It's a summary. I'm summarizing
But
my
Jesus,
coverage of the game.
You're getting more flowery.
Flowery?
You are more.
I don't think I was very flowery about Staufer Dynasty.
Well, no, I'm just saying.
Corpse flower, maybe.
Well, you're raising the bar, so now next episode I'm gonna have to bring it. I just said I dig that they took a risk with a unique theme and an off the wall. Hey, we're just gonna try it because we think it works. And kudos to them for not only making a cool, unique theme, but a really, really damn good game that I think, personally, I enjoyed across the entire spectrum on the player count. I get what you're saying as far as 5, especially in the last round, how it can, drag a bit. And 2 is maybe a little too little competition there. But as far as overall, I think it's a fantastic game and an absolute... a valuable asset to my collection that I'm not getting rid of. So
yeah, no, that last point there is a solid one for sure, because neither one of us are selling this game.
No, absolutely not. So it's been a while since we've gone over our rating scale. So
fair enough.
Let's go ahead and do that real quick. So we rate on a scale of 1 to 6. First one is, it's not me, it's you. Burn it with fire. Damn you if you sell it or trade it. Shame on you, just light it on fire.
That one always kills me.
Number 2 is, it's not you, it's me. Hey, I get why people get it, why they enjoy it, but it's not for me. For me, that would be like a Glenn Moore game. That I know it's a good game, but yeah, not for me. Number 3, which we talked about earlier with the Staufer Dynasty, is, it's below average, but, there's some cool things about it that we like, whether it's theme, mechanic, something about it.
Right.
A 4 is, hey, it's above average, and this is the level where we start thinking, hey, maybe we'll actually acquire this game. A 5 is terrific, dare I say, great game. Strongly like the game, and I'm going to own it. And a 6, it's a Hall of Fame game. Just go buy it. The end.
No brainer.
Right. So for me,
yes, sir.
With my description, anything other than a 5 seems unfair. I think it doesn't do anything terribly new other than that whole deck drawing mechanic.
Right. Which is brilliant.
I think it works really well. I think it is perfect for what it does. It's just a really enjoyable game that both casual gamers and gamers can get together and enjoy. And there's not a ton of games out there that really scratch that itch. So yeah, I'd say it's a terrific 5 for me.
Awesome. I'm going to rate the game a 4, and an extremely strong 4. It's
no such thing as 4.5.
No, it's a 4. It is nowhere near a 3. 3 is not in consideration. And I had to think about this for like 2 days before deciding to call it a 4, not a 5. So close to a 5 it is for me.
But if it's not a 5,
it's 4.
Ergo, it's a 4.
That is Rococo. So this afternoon on Twitter, you and Vassal bored the shit out of me, talking about how games get reprinted and viability of it and stuff like that. And I understand you want to mention a little something.
Well, this all comes from his Board Game Breakfast video thing that he does, I think, weekly, maybe. Well, here, I'll just get into it. I'm disappointed to hear Tom over on the Dice Tower correlate the popularity of a game with the greatness of it. He recently said, in fact, this morning, if a game is great, it'll get reprinted, and that he defines a great game as, quote, a game that appeals to a huge amount of people and is an amazing fun game that people want, end quote. When I disagreed with him and said that just about eliminates all niche games and almost all indie games, he said that yes, it does, and he's okay with that. And I get that our taste and those of many of y'all listening don't fall in line with Tom and his audience. I get that. But when you have as an enormous a presence in the hobby of ours as he does, to make a blanket statement like that, frankly, isn't true. I find it disappointing and kind of a shame. I can't imagine how many great games we don't get to try because of this type of thought process. That's all. That's all I got.
I mean it. The conversation it bored me. And I just don't care because whether it's you, Tom, anybody, my dad, the conversation did not bring any value to me. I don't care what anybody other than the CEO of multiple publishing companies has to say about the viability of reprinting games. So I'm done with it. Move on.
All right, so we've had an Ask the Elephant set of questions that we keep not answering for the simple fact that timing and whether or not it fit and all that.
They were left over from the 18XX episode. We didn't have any time.
Right, and so actually it's from the episode before that. So here we're finally getting to it.
I pulled these out of that list.
I know, because they got added to that from the last time. So here we go. All right, first off, I'll ask, you answer, then I'll answer.
All right.
Do you have a favorite year or period for publishing designs?
I don't analyze the release years for games, nor wine, nor anything.
I was going to say the last 3 years, or 2012 to 2014 is my favorite. That also coincides with when I joined the hobby, so I guess that kind of makes sense. But to say that there aren't awesome games from back in the 80s and 90s and the aughts is not true, but that's probably my favorite. So number 2, do you have a favorite game franchise or family? I have a feeling that you and I are going to be very similar on this.
Probably 18XX, Winsome, and the Harvest Trilogy.
Oh, Uwe's games.
Uwe.
Okay. I had 18XX, and I kind of just was going to go with Splatter Games as a whole.
There you go.
Kind of a family, right? All right. Least favorite title. Just the name for a game. Not talking about the game quality. So in this case, Global Mogul doesn't apply.
Right.
So just strictly the name.
Isle of Trains, because it means the Isle of Trains and Isle of Trains. I just think it's clever and stupid.
All right.
But do you have a favorite?
I'll be honest. I have racked my brain for 2 weeks for this, and I mean, I dig Wir sind das Volk. I like the name of that. I think that's pretty cool on what that represents. But there's nothing that's like...
It's fun to say.
Yeah, I mean, like, I love the artwork and Fire in the Sky, but that's not the artwork, it's the name. We'll go with Wir sind das Volk.
Least favorite? I have Eat Poo, You Cat. I'm just like, what the hell?
And I can't use
childish.
Exploding Kittens because of what it represents. It's not the name itself.
I don't like cats, so that might be right up there with Isle of Trains for me.
No, I can't think of anything, so we'll just piggyback off of Eat Poo, You Cat. What the hell were they thinking? What most turns you on and off on games?
On would be economy games, market games, and stock ownership games.
Yeah, I think, especially over the last few episodes, people are going to know that's our answer. That said, I love auction games, I love worker placement games, but my favorite probably, if you put a gun to my head, are just economic and partial ownership, or fractional ownership games.
What about turning off?
Mechanic-wise?
Or
Co-op?
anything.
Well, see, I was thinking co-ops in general.
Interesting.
But I got to be honest, we played the Grizzled, and we all really enjoyed that. So when I think co-op, I think like Dead of Winter.
Right.
Defenders of the Realm, Pandemic. I have less than zero interest in those games.
Absolutely.
So kind of those, with maybe the rare exception.
My turn-off is not going to be surprising to anyone. It's game-altering randomness in medium or heavy games.
Okay, well, you got me. Yeah, that too. Okay, fine. What curse word do you... Now, hold on. What's your favorite curse word, and what do you most exclaim during the session?
All right, well, let's have a go at this. My favorite curse word is and during sessions I think Paul Chad had the best.
You beat me to it, damn it!
Sorry, you say it. What did Paul Chad say?
My you
and he said that in the middle of a convention. I looked around and everyone was busy playing games.
Right.
So
my favorite is either because it's the best 13-letter word in the English language, or
all right, I hope that clears it up for you guys.
All right. What's your favorite or least favorite mechanism? Well, favorite they know that it's auctions and such for both of us. I think that and worker placement for me, but least favorite for you.
Yeah, well, dice.
Just anything with dice.
Not anything, because there are games that do it well. Bora Bora, Trois, Madeira, and there are games that don't do it well.
Okay,
so when it's not done well,
For me, mechanic wise, I was just gonna say roll and move. There's just no place for that nowadays. So another question, and this one is 100% you because I haven't played it. In Newland, everyone says to use the old rules and not the new. Why? What has changed that makes the new one that much worse?
Well, I think that they nerfed the game by giving you some freebie tiles, like get out of jail free when the game crunches you up, or the other players crunch you up a bit, and that will happen in this game. The mines used to be pre-populated, but now they're just like a random draw of cubes. And but you can play with the original German rules, and that's the only way I've played, based on the feedback of some of our guild membership.
Okay.
And at that point, it really becomes a good luckless game of abstract logistics. It's got some player-driven screwage. It's not a great game. It's worth picking up and trying if you can find it cheap.
Okay.
Because it is tough, and you can really get into... If you like wonkage in a game, you can do some wonkage on each other.
Nice. All right, the last one. This one's from our buddy Skippin'. I know you two profess not to care about theme, but if you could take your perfect game, what theme would you like to have? Any theme that would make you just insta-buy a game strictly on the theme.
A software startup is what I put down, and it's going to depend a lot on what I see about the game, though. I don't think... No theme can make me insta-buy, I don't think. The theme will be, like a software startup, would be an important factor in my buying it if it was something I really was interested in. But I'd want to... research the implementation too. I don't want a dice rolling, card drawing game about software startups. I would like a heavy economic game about starting a software company and raising venture fund, blah blah blah.
Okay. For me, I'll be honest, there isn't a single theme that I could think of that would really make me buy a game. As far as the whole not to care about theme, let me clarify one thing. And
Please.
I think I've said this in the past, but I know we say that we don't care about theme. Theme, if a game has no theme, but the mechanics are strong, it can potentially be a great game. There's no problem with that. However, a strong theme that we enjoy in a game is only going to make a game better.
Yes.
But it is not required for a game to be great.
Well said, sir.
So yeah, that's what we got. So it's an abbreviated Ask the Elephant. It'll be back in force probably next episode. So yeah, look for it.
All right, let's put a bow on this episode, sir. Remind everyone how to contact Heavy Cardboard, please.
First off, on Twitter, @HeavyCardboard, Facebook, Heavy Cardboard, email, contact@heavycardboard.com. We love getting listener emails. YouTube, Heavy Cardboard Vids. We're on the web, heavycardboard.com. And last, certainly not least, join our guild over on BGG. I want to say it's 2044 is the number of the guild, but you can just search for it. Heavy Cardboard Guild. We got about 360 folks or so. Good conversations going over there, and it's not all us, so it's really good interaction. So go check it out.
And thank you again to Game Surplus for sponsoring Heavy Cardboard. Check them out at www.heavycardboard.com. They take good care of us, and I know they take good care of all you guys. And they do things like making it possible for giveaways and this $40 gift certificate, etc. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, very much. Thank you. And thanks to all our listeners for those that hit the World Board Game Championships this year. They said the feedback that they got regarding the show and our partnership with them has been great. So for those that said something to them, we really appreciate it. They loved hearing it. And keep supporting them. Let them know we sent you. We'll catch you guys in a couple weeks. We don't know what game 31. Yet. It'll be a surprise to us as much as it is to you, I guess.
There's three in my mind.
3?
Yeah.
What do you got? No, you can give them an idea.
Okay. Argent, Forge Wars, Masters of Venice.
I would be willing to get on board with one of those, or all three.
All three of those.
But yeah, it'll be one of those.
Right,
all
exactly.
Right. We'll catch you on in a couple weeks.
But when they're held for pleasure, they're the balls that I